Well, hello everyone. Good evening and welcome to DIY Perfuming with Essential Oils, sponsored by Now Essential Oils. My name is Dion and I am the in-house nutrition consultant at Choices Claiborne in Abbotsford. It is my pleasure to have you all here with us live tonight on YouTube. I'm going to introduce our speaker Talia in a moment, but before I do, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. So we will have a YouTube live chat going on. In order to take part in that, you do need to sign into a YouTube account. So if you don't have an account, there is time, just quickly sign up, and you do need to log in order to ask questions. At the end of the event, what we'll do is I will read out the questions to our presenter and we'll have her answer them for us. If you signed up to attend this live, then you are eligible for a nutrition buck, as seen here. And what that is a $10 off coupon if you spend $50 or more. So right now we have changed the way that we do this. After the event, you will receive a link that is by email, and that is a quick survey. And we will ask you what store that you want to pick up your nutrition buck at. And once we have that information, then it will be available for you in store. That is how we're doing it right now. So once again, an email will go out after the event and we will get your information, and then we will have your nutrition buck available in the store that you choose. But that information has to be provided to us in the email survey that we send out after. And nutrition tours are back up and running. So please sign up for a free one-on-one nutrition tour with a nutrition consultant at your local Choices of Choice. And to do that, you can do that on our website at choicesmarket.com. And you can also sign up in store with customer service, or maybe you'll see your nutrition consultant there and you can sign up with them directly. So with that, I am going to now read our guest speaker's bio today. So we have Talia here with us, and Talia has a lifelong passion for all things nutrition and healthy living. With over 30 years in the health industry, her formal training, as well as personal and professional experience, form a strong basis for her speaking and education. Her experience includes an eclectic background in herbal medicine, nutrition, essential oils, green living, meditation, vegetarian cooking, and working as a wellness coach, fitness instructor, and personal trainer. Talia is also the author of The Confident Food Shopper, The Guide to Food Labels and Fables, The Expert Patient, Health is Not a Spectator Sport, and the 3-Minute Liquid Meal Blueprint. So with that, I would like to open it up and welcome Talia. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Dion. Great to be back. And I'll jump right into this really fun topic because I do a lot of presentations, but this is one of my favorite. And just by way of quick introduction too, I want to thank, I guess, the two sponsors for tonight, obviously, Choices Market and also Now Health Group, who I'm affiliated with. And just for those of you who've never heard of Now, which maybe it could be one or two of you, we're a family-owned company, 55 years. And all of the Now products are produced in Guelph, Ontario, that are in Canada. And if you're ever curious, this is an amazing book. It's quite a fascinating story that you can download off the Now website. And just a quick mention that we have 8 labs, which is it's actually unusual. Most natural health companies don't have labs of their own at all, but we have labs of the status of a third-party lab, 8 of them, and we do 19,000 individual quality tests on a monthly basis. All right, and last but not least, of course, always have to have that obligatory disclaimer. This presentation for informational purposes, of course, doesn't constitute the practice of medicine, which there won't be a lot of that tonight anyway, medicine-like stuff, or aromatherapy. And any information written or stated here or materials linked, and we will provide some links in the YouTube channel that are going to be really helpful to you as resources, and questions answered at the end or at the user's own risk. So for all suggested uses for any of the products, please have a look at the products themselves. This is just, I always put the fingerprint with my disclaimer, and that represents just that we're all so individual. So what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. History of perfumes in 1 minute, because history can be so boring, let's face it, but a little bit of, where we're coming from with perfumes is always interesting. We've obviously evolved for whatever reasons to enjoy certain smells and be repelled from other smells. Everybody loves a good coffee, like a morning coffee. Part of it is the smell, or not everyone loves coffee, but we like the smell. And, from a very young age, we love the smell of a flower. And we do know that smells have an effect on us. I don't really need to get into the science for you to know that. As a human being, we know. But just by way of interest, when you smell something and those particles that float up into the air, they bind into your nasal passage. There's, about 400 receptors, and they're very close to the brain, and the signals are actually sent all over the brain. This has been shown with different smells and affect different areas of the brain. So certainly there is something going on, and we know that smells can trigger memories. So there's a lot of interest for me by way of just smells, and perfumes are about smells, really. And I have to say that the original perfume, the very first perfume ever, was amber, which apparently is my mother's favorite smell, and it came from either the yellow amber comes from the conifer tree resin, like this gooey stuff that comes out. Or there's gray amber, which came from the bile duct of a sperm whale. I think when the whale kind of throws up, and that's how they would collect it. So I have no idea how that all happened, but history is interesting sometimes. And now, of course, we evolved and we have prestige perfumes. So it used to be that, in the days of amber, only the very, very wealthy, maybe kings and queens, might have perfumes. But now many people have perfumes, and they become more commercialized, and there's formulas, and there's, fragrances, synthetic fragrances, and different types. I just say perfumes generically, but we've got eau de cologne and eau de toilette and aftershave, and all of these are variations of the same thing, but different potencies. And many people enjoy them. But obviously, if you're here tonight, you're interested in more natural, less synthetic, and using essential oil, so you're in the right place. Now, I've actually never bought a prestige perfume, but if you have and you did in the past, then you might be familiar with the cost. And the ingredients really cost very little. So it's one of those many things where, the cost is way out of proportion to the actual cost, the cost to you. So the ingredients in an average prestige bottle may only cost $1 to $2, less than 1% of the retail cost. And what you're really paying for is the box and the display, and and just the impression that you get. And some people certainly are concerned about ingredients in your average perfume. If you've heard of the Environmental Working Group website, they provide a lot of interesting information on chemicals that we're exposed to, not just in perfumes, but in foods and all kinds of cleaning products. So they did some research here, and they found that this a while back, greater than 75% of products listing the ingredient as fragrance contain phthalates. And phthalates is just one kind of chemical that's on the radar of consumers that are pretty savvy or health conscious, and believed to be linked to a number of things of concern, such as disrupting hormones. So when you make your own stuff, it's going to be clean and simple. And in terms of what is in your perfume, they also did an expose, which you can read about on their website. And they found that in many of these name brand fragrances, I'm not going to name the brands here, but I'm sure many of you would recognize them. There were a lot of unlabeled chemicals in those bottles. Probably no surprise. All right, so let's get into the part you're here for, using essential oils to make your own perfumes. And I have done it myself and enjoyed it very much. I will keep sipping water so that I can get through this hour. So if you are not sure what essential oils are, I mean, you've maybe seen them in the store, but many plants contain essential oils, and they are the fragrant part of the plant. They are part of the plant that are volatile, so they're very, light, and they can float up into the air. But of course, when they're in the plant, they're not nearly as concentrated as they are when they're in the bottles. But they can come from any part of the plant, from the roots and the flowers, leaves. And just to give you an idea of how concentrated they are, in a bottle like this, 30 milliliters of lemon essential oil, it would take approximately 150 lemon rinds to be pressed just to make that one bottle. So we just have to have a healthy respect for that and caution in terms of when we're putting it on our skin, we need to dilute them. So I'll be giving you quite a bit of instruction about that. And also, when you are putting things on your skin, essential oils in particular, they are more likely to cause irritation if they are beyond their best by date, or you haven't kept them well, because they can be, even within the best by date, but deteriorate if you keep them lids off or in warm areas. So that's something to keep in mind. On the bottom of these bottles, you can see here it's got the best by date. So, and some of them last longer than others. They can last up to 4 or 5 years if you are, being careful. I'm going to admit someone in here. There we go. Had a little pop up. And citrus deteriorates faster than some others, so you can even keep them in your refrigerator if you wish. Some people ask me, how do you know your oils have gone bad? And not everyone will be able to tell, but they might look thicker than you remember. They might become cloudy or murky, or a change in aroma will be more or less potent. Just to let Soji know if your camera is showing up on the screen, I'm not sure. It might be showing up for everybody. Yeah, there we go. Thanks. All right. This is important because you want to have also, quality essential oils, I'm sure, and when you're putting them on your skin. So just an important myth buster I always mention in terms of how do you know if an essential oil is good quality? Well, there are some terms out there that are thrown about: therapeutic grade, medical grade, aromatherapy grade, when it comes to essential oils. And the bottom line is, when you see those, just know and be aware that these are simply marketing terms, because there are no such grades or terms that apply to essential oils. If they were, they would be a third-party pharmacopoeia or third-party organization that creates these certain standards. And if you live up to them, then you get to call yourself that. But there is no such thing in the essential oil world yet at this point. So just ignore those. And what you want to know is just that essential oils, there are very internationally recognized types of tests, standard tests, to establish the quality of essential oils. Many of them, like the fingerprint here, I like the fingerprint a lot. Many of them are basically like a fingerprint. So if you know what the essential oil is supposed to look like, because you have the existing fingerprint, then when you do your test, you compare them side by side to see, do you have the same chemical constituents in that you are expecting? So that's what most of these tests are doing, although some of them require more experience in terms of just smell. And, so this is something certainly that I couldn't do. And there's tests for pesticide residues and other things as well. And just as an example, on the Now website, they have all of the essential oils, the details of those important tests there for you to see. So it should be available to consumers if you if you ask. Again, no mystery about how we examine essential oils. Although personally, of course, I cannot interpret these, but maybe someone else certainly can. Okay, so let's get into the art of perfuming, because there is a certain art to it, which is very interesting. So there's an art to blending, and I'm going to give you the formula here, but it doesn't mean you have to abide by it. But this is, you came here to find out how do you make perfume. So when we make perfumes, typically what we do is we combine essential oils. And I've played piano, we're combining what are called different notes. If you are in front of a piano and you played here C, E, and G, you're going to get a beautiful sounding chord with lovely harmonies, because these just go together. You hit 3 other random keys, they might not sound so great. So there's something to that combination. And the same goes for essential oils. So when it comes to essential oils, we try to combine top notes, middle notes, and base notes in this particular kind of ratio or percentage. Certain essential oils are deemed to be top notes, others middle notes, and others base notes. And I'll show you what that means. But in this particular ratio is thought to work best. So what are top notes? Top notes are essential oils that kind of jump out at you right away. They create a very strong first impression. You notice them right away. And that would be, for example, citrus. That's why we use so many, like in air fresheners, we use citrus, because if you want to cover up an odor, you want to notice it right then and there. So those are the top note essential oils. There are essential oils deemed middle notes. You notice them a little bit later after the top notes fade, and they're kind of the heart of the formula. And they'll make up most of your formula, at least 50% of it. And then you have your base notes. You won't notice them at first. They'll show up much longer, could be hours later, or even the next day if you're smelling your perfume. And we combine all 3 of these. So this chart, which is available as a download on the Now website, and you will be provided in the YouTube channel in the chat. The link to this is going to be posted, as well as a brochure that you can download that includes this, because this is important. This is kind of the essence of everything that you're going to do. So you can see now we have separated the essential oils by certain categories, like floral, citrusy, minty, medicinal, herbal, earthy, spicy, and woodsy. And then we're showing which of these essential oils are top notes, middle notes, which is this whole section, and bottom notes. So if you're making a perfume, you're going to pick some top notes, which will make up about 30% of your perfume. You'll pick some middle notes, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, as long as it makes up around half of that formula, and your bottom notes. Now, you don't have to follow this. I mean, you could make a perfume with just lavender if you want, but it's just a suggestion. It's the art of perfuming. It's considered the best practices to get the nicest combination. And so then you'll notice here I've got these 0.4% MSD. Some of the essential oils, I've got this other detail here. That's important too. What that is it's showing you that certain essential oils have a maximum safe dilution. Maximum safe dilution means you should never use it on your skin past this amount of percentage of the formula you're using, because they do tend to be more irritating to the skin. So for example, if you were using lemongrass, you wouldn't want to exceed 0.7% of the formula with lemongrass. And ideally, you wouldn't even want to use anywhere close to the maximum. You'd use considerably lower. That's just the maximum. So for beginners, I just recommend that you stick with mostly essential oils that don't have a maximum. So you don't have to worry about that as much, like lavender or chamomile or neroli. You still have to always dilute them to put them on your skin, but you don't have to be as careful about how much you're diluting them. Okay, so now into the steps to create a formula. And you're probably going to want to watch this video, by the way, a couple, maybe a time more after this if you're really serious to let this information solidify, because there's quite a bit here. But once you get it, it's pretty simple. So step number 1 to create your formula, you want to come up with a formula. So here's just an example I've picked a top note, chamomile, 2 middle notes, ginger and geranium, and 2 base notes. And I've even indicated the ratios. This is not how many drops, it's just the ratios, because how many drops you're going to use is going to depend on how big your container is. If you have a tiny container, maybe you're just doing 3, 3, 2, 1, 1 drops. But if you have a very big container, maybe you're multiplying these all by 10 and making a big batch. So it's just the ratios. And this is according to the 30, 50, 20 top, middle, bottom notes. I'm following that. So it's just as an example. You can see here's another example of sweet and spicy. I've got sweet orange for my top note, neroli and cardamom making the bulk of the middle notes. It's 50%, but I've decided not to put any bottom notes because, again, just to show you, you don't have to follow the formula to a T. It's just an idea, a suggestion. And here's the last one, peace and quiet, I'm calling it. We've got a top note and a base note and no middle note. So again, just flexibility. I'm going to show you some more formulas. That's just to give you a taste before we go on. So how do you test a blend? How do you know what you want? If you want to be a real aficionado, this is how you do it. Like, what determines the end result is going to be your own individuality and preferences, which are partially genetic for sure. And, the notes that you put together, how they react with your own body chemistry, maybe the age of the perfume as well, because as they sit, they do tend to change. So just by way of interest, I could never say to you that just because I love a perfume, you're going to love it. So there's an average of 30% genetic variability in our receptors in our nose for smell. This is the reason why my brother and mother hate cilantro. It's not really the taste, it's the smell. It's very genetic, whereas me and my sister love it. So cilantro is a good example because there's only 2 types of people, those who hate it and those who love it. But as another example here, there's this particular hormone chemical. Some people can't smell it at all. To other people, it smells like cut grass, and to others like foul urine or sweat. So that's very interesting. We just have that individuality. So you're going to pick your own formula. And then if you want to test it out before making a big batch, and always make a small batches when you're starting. But if you want to know how are those essential oils all going to mix together and you want to do it professionally, you can order these strips online usually. Or maybe just cut your own paper strips. And then you're going to add 1 or 2 drops onto the end of each of them for however many essential oils you're using. And then wave them about, 5 inches in front of your face all together to get an idea of how that combined aroma is. Another workaround, it's not as good, but what I used to sometimes do is I'll just open 2, 3 bottles that I'm using and then just kind of circle them in front of my nose, in front of my face. You can repeat it the next day to see what does it smell like after it's matured a little bit, or even wait longer. And then of course you can also add it to your wrist and wait some time to see how it jives with your own body chemistry. I honestly don't do all this. I just pick essential oils that I like, mix them together, and somehow it works well enough. But I'm here to teach you about this, so I gotta give you the more official steps. Step 2, make small batches. If you really like making perfumes, you can buy these tiny little bottles. I also got these online, and you can mix batches so that you don't have to keep making the mixture every time you want your perfume. So say you really love this formula, 2 parts and you got 1 part, 1 part, 1 part, then you could, make a big batch of these and into the little bottle. So you might say, multiply each of these by 20 and put that many drops into a bottle. So you're saving up the whole combination. And then when you're making a perfume, you won't use all of them, but you'll just use enough drops to make, the right small formula. This will make more sense as I go on, but you can make little batches. Now, you're going to want to make your perfume a certain percentage, like the essential oils in it are going to be a certain percentage. Maybe it's going to be your essential oils are going to be 3% of your whole bottle. The rest is going to be something you mix it in, which I'm going to get to, but it's going to be either alcohol or oil, depending on how we make it. But it has to be mixed into something. So you're going to make it a certain percentage. How do you know how to do that? We have these great resources. This will also be on YouTube in the chat. If you look, you'll find this page at nowfoods.ca. 2 amazing resources that you can use for diluting essential oils, not just for when you're making perfumes, but other things as well. This one, as an example, say you have a 30 milliliter bottle and you want to make 2% dilution, 2% of your essential oils. So here's 2%, 30 ml, 12 drops. If you put 12 drops of combined of all your essential oils, you will have made a 2% dilution in that size bottle. So if you want some more flexibility, you can use the calculator on that page as well, where you can pick your units. Maybe I'm always just thinking in milliliters. Maybe I have a 500 milliliter bottle, so I select milliliters here. I'll put 500 for the size of my bottle, and I enter the desired dilution. Let's say I want a 10% dilution. I click calculate the drops, and boom, it spits out how many drops do I need to add into that size bottle to get the percentage that I asked for. So you won't have to do any math. You just have to know what percentage you want. Okay. I added this in as well. This is not on our website, but sometimes some people you may be working with essential oils that are very, very small percentages that you want. And this chart may come in handy. You can come back to it and photograph it. But the reason you would need this is certain essential oils are so strong and more irritating. Those are the ones I mentioned with the maximum safe dilutions. Some of them, even if you put 1 drop in a little bottle, it's already too much to use on your skin. So you might need to use bigger bottles or not use that at all. But this helps you, with those minute ones. And again, so if you decide to do a certain percentage, like say a 3% dilution, you're making a perfume with 3% essential oils, how many drops you put in your container is going to entirely depend on the size of the container. It's really tiny, like this spray bottle, it would be 3 drops total. But if you have a bigger bottle, it will be 36. So that's why you need to use that calculator to figure out, if you want 3%, how many drops do you put in that particular container. Now, so I mentioned you're adding your essential oils into some kind of carrier. You have to dilute them. You do not put them on your skin by themselves. You're not going to just tap them on your skin as a perfume. So there are 2 ways to dilute when it comes to perfumes, to dilute those essential oils. One is in alcohol, and the other is in an oil. I call it a carrier oil because it's just carrying that essential oil, but it's any oil, olive oil, coconut oil. If it's an oil, an oil that's liquid at room temperature would be what you're looking for. If you don't use these, and there's all kinds of bad recipes online that include other things like water or vodka, your essential oils will not mix properly. They'll float on the top like this. And if they don't mix properly, there's more chance of them irritating your skin. So you definitely want to properly dilute them I'll show you how to make a perfume alcohol-based or a perfume that's oil-based. And you can do both of those fairly easily. But again, there's recipes online showing vodka, and it doesn't work very well because it's not a high enough percentage. And then last step, you can wait a week or more, even many weeks before you use your perfume. It's supposed to be better over time, like a fine wine, although I never wait, I just use them. But, then I keep using them, and it takes many weeks to use it up anyway. But you can, and it will change over time. All right, another sip of water. So dilute, dilute, dilute. Just keep emphasizing you always want to dilute essential oils on your skin. How much do you want to dilute them? It's a little bit tricky, but depends on the essential oil. So first, like generally speaking, yeah, how much you dilute any essential oil that goes on your skin depends on the type of essential oil you're using, how often you're applying it to your skin, how sensitive your skin is, the surface area. We don't put perfume all over our body. It's generally in a very little area, which allows us to use it at a higher potency typically. What part of the body? So, face and neck are quite sensitive, and the wrists less so. And the dilution. So if you look in the perfume world, the percentage of the fragrance they use varies a lot, all the way from very low, that's aftershave because you're putting it on your face. It has to be very low, up to 1% at the most, to what we call perfume, where you might have 20 to 30%. At the most, I make maybe around 10%, and that would be considered an eau de toilette. So I will show you some recipes that are 10 and 15%, but it really depends on what essential oils you're using, because some of them cannot be at these high dilutions and have to be very low, but I'll give you all that information so you'll understand better. But so it's going to be some kind of a range. It's possible to do this probably fairly safely for a little point if you're using something like lavender. Again, I keep going back to that because we know lavender is a very, very gentle essential oil. In terms of directions on how much we should dilute essential oils, there is good safety information out there, but not for perfumes, unfortunately. We know, like general information, if you're putting essential oils on your face, they got to be very diluted. And if you're using for body massage, it can be 1.5 to 3%. But there's no really, it's not like this is medicine. There's no details for making essential oils out there. So we do have to follow some common sense and understand some of the potencies of the essential oil. So I made this chart for you. This is something it's not on the Now website. It's just something I made up myself, but you can always freeze the screen on the YouTube and photograph it and come back and do that. Do a screenshot or something like that. But it's very useful because now this is just referring to the essential oils that Now carries. So there may be other ones that you have or have heard of that are not included here, but there's quite a bit here to work with. So these essential oils all here don't have a maximum safe dilution. That means that they're very safe to work with in comparison to others. You still need to dilute them, but there's no known maximum where you have to be very careful if you go past it. So this is good beginner stuff. And there's other ones here that have a maximum they do have a maximum dilution, but it's fairly high. So I showed you most perfumes, the perfumes may go up to, at the most, say 15-20%. But if you're making anything that's around 10%, which is a really good concentration, then you're okay even to use all of these or these, because these can go up, up to 18% or 17%. But then you get into ones where, and I've had a lot of trouble myself with cinnamon and reactions, where you shouldn't put it at more than 0.01% in a formula. Don't even work with these ones. You're going to run into trouble unless you're making giant batches or like giant bottles. Even if you put 1 drop of that in a small bottle, it's already too much. So just be careful with that, and that information and the maximum dilutions are all on that nice chart I showed you. You can download and print from the Now website. So you're going to just start with your safer ones. Now, what if you want to make an alcohol-based perfume? Let's start there. The general formula is you need alcohol, water, and your essential oils. The alcohol, you want it to be a high percentage alcohol, so not vodka. I mean, you can use vodka if that's all you have, but it's not going to mix them very well. You're going to have to really, really shake it, and it won't go on evenly. Higher chance of them, if they're not diluted properly, then they can irritate your skin. So you want your container to be about 2/3 alcohol, high percentage, about 1/3 distilled water, and then you have your essential oils, the rest. And I usually put the essential oils in first, and then add in your, your alcohol and your water and spray. And that's basically it. That's how you make the alcohol-based ones. A high percentage alcohol, I'm just showing one brand out there. In terms of alcohol versus oil-based perfume, I put some pros and cons, but alcohol does help. It's a natural preservative, so it will preserve those essential oils well. It also solubilizes very well, meaning it helps the essential oils mix very well and disperse, and that's good for safety. And it also helps stabilize the aroma, kind of fix it, what it's called, so it will deteriorate less over time. And improve silage. That's the trail that diffuses as you move, so it kind of releases as you move. And there's some cons, but not really much. I mean, it does evaporate quickly. So if you use an oil-based perfume, you'll smell it for longer. It kind of keeps it on your skin. Alcohol evaporates, and the essential oils will too. So it won't last as long. That's probably the biggest con, but you can just reapply it. Drying to the skin, it is. Alcohol's drying to the skin, but presumably you're just putting it in a little space, so it might not make a difference. But if you have dry skin or irritated skin or skin conditions, then maybe alcohol is not the way to go. And just some ideas of other brands of very high percentage alcohol. It can be a little bit difficult to find these or to get access to them. I don't use any of these. What I actually use is isopropyl alcohol. I find that it's fine. Like, I don't smell it after a few seconds. I did an experiment here to show you the difference between vodka, which is a low percentage alcohol, and isopropyl alcohol. When I mixed in the essential oil blue chamomile, you can see here it mixed in beautifully, completely dispersed, but in the vodka it didn't. So definitely you want to use the high percentage alcohol, even if it's a cheap isopropyl alcohol, if you don't mind using that. So here's an example of an actual perfume. It's a 10% that I've put together for you. I call it an eau de toilette because it's 10%. So you would need a little spray bottle, and these you can get from Now. They do sell these little atomizers, I think they're pronounced, little spray bottle. And if you put 9 drops in total of essential oil into this tiny container, that gives you a 10% dilution. So 2 drops, 3 drops, 2 drops, 1 drop, and 1 drop. And I'm following this formula of top, middle, and lower notes. And I have used a couple that do have a maximum safe dilution, but we're well below that because this maximum for geranium, which smells beautiful, by the way, is 17% is the maximum, but the whole perfume is only 10%. So we're well below that. That's an example of how I mixed one combination. And here's the recipe again. Now, what if you want to make an oil-based perfume? So you need an oil. You can really pick any oil, but one that does last longer on the skin than oil-based. You would probably want an oil that doesn't have its own odor, because that might cover up the odor of the essential oils. Like my 2 favorites are jojoba and liquid coconut oil. They're fairly odorless, and they also have a good shelf life, especially if you're making a big batch of perfume. Jojoba's has especially long shelf life, and it's very nice. And here I call this Talia's Perfect Blend because it's perfect for me because I love it. So I happen to love rose and jasmine, so I used these in this formula. Now this is a 15% blend. So for 15%, in order to get 15%, I needed to add 30 drops into this roll-on. Most of these little roll-ons that you can get are the same size, 10 ml. That means you can just roll it on. So 30 drops. So what you do is you put your 30 drops of the essential oils that you selected, if you want a 15%, then you just fill up the rest with your oil, jojoba oil, whichever oil you want, and you're ready to go. But, in particular, I chose these ones. I did show rose and jasmine. So this one's a bit trickier, which is why I have so much detail here. It's a bit trickier because rose and jasmine, they have maximum safe dilutions of, in this case, 2.5% and 0.7%. That's very low. So we might be worried, but they are already diluted in the bottles themselves. So rose is a 5% dilution already. Jasmine is a 7.5% dilution. Most of the essential oils that I work with it now are 100% pure, but some of them, like jasmine and rose, are already diluted simply because we don't want a consumer to have to pay $300 for pure rose or pure jasmine. They're just way too expensive. So I did the calculation for you, which you can copy. These are, well within the safe amounts. But it may be difficult to do the math, and it's kind of beyond the scope tonight for me to explain how I did this. So I just included it in here so that you could use jasmine or rose, which are lovely, in your formulas without having to do math. Oh, came to the end faster than I imagined. Wow, time flies. Um, so all of these links should be in the YouTube chat, hopefully. And these are going to be very helpful. So just to explain what's there, this one has a brochure that you can actually download that explains perfuming. It's kind of a very short version of tonight, plus with that lovely chart. And the dilution calculators, which are going to be absolutely necessary when you're picking the percentage for your perfumes. And some other details about essential oils and carrier oils and quality and such. Those two are definitely key. And I see Dion has popped up there, so happy to, I guess it's question time. I hope I haven't gone too much over time. I completely was in my zone.
No, you didn't go over at all. I just wanted to pop on and give you the nod to let you know that I did put all of the information that you provided me into the chat for everyone. So
Oh, great.
yeah. Did
Maybe.
you have any other things that you wanted to say or?
No, I think maybe while we can take questions, but I'm gonna go back to just one nice that nice chart, so when people are asking questions they have that there to look at. Yeah, because I think it's kind of the most important slide.
That's great. Thank you. Yes, so we haven't had any questions come in while you were talking. So I encourage anyone, if you have questions now, please drop them into the chat. I know there's a lot of information here in the chat, so just, but feel free to ask your questions and I will read them out to Talia. Wow, you've provided everyone all the tools that they need. This is really exciting.
Yeah, thank you. It is, yeah, it's a lot of information. And I'm not a math person, but I think once somebody does it once or twice, they'll realize it's not all that difficult, especially if you just use the essential oils that have no maximum, and then you can kind of just be more easygoing about it, and then you just pick your top, middle, and lower notes and maybe make a 5 or a 10% dilution, and you'll just basically rely on this and those online calculators. and you're off to the races. And they
Well,
make really nice gifts for somebody. I
right.
think.
And this is the season where we start thinking about making gifts, especially if you want to get an early start to things. That's a great idea. And
Yeah.
for those people who maybe are unable to, for whatever reason, access the chat and see this, all of this information, all these charts, would they be found at the Now website as well?
Yeah, so that link, the first link that I provided will be to a brochure that can be printed, and that brochure includes this chart.
Hmm.
And then another link that I provided will be to a page that has those two different calculators I showed. The one chart where you just, find your bottle size and then the percentage, and it tells you how many drops, and the other one where you can do it more, let's say, like customized with an actual calculator. Those are on the Now website as well.
Right. And
Do
then
you want me to go back to that one?
they're all here as well in the chat. That's so neat that there's a calculator and everything as well.
Yeah, that
Um,
calculator can be used for like when people are working with essentials to put them on their body, they always need a calculator, whether you're making like a massage oil and you're putting in essential oils, or something for, headaches to put, here. You have to know something about the dilution that it should be. And I showed one chart there that's got some general information. So you have to be a little careful about the big wide web and what recipes you're using, but yeah, you can use that to calculate anything.
Thank you. I have a question. I know now in herbal medicine or with any kind of plants, a lot of people are talking about sustainability and stuff. Are all the oils and the plants for the oils, are they from farms or are some wild crafted? And would that say on the bottle?
Don't think it doesn't say on the bottle
Okay.
where they come from. So I would have to you would have to email me based on, because there's so many and they're sourced all over the globe. I couldn't
Right.
tell you, but may not necessarily be from a small farm. It depends.
Right.
Yeah,
But if
I
the
only I know
ones that
lavender,
are,
because
sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you
like
off.
our lavender comes from many little farms, because Now purchases more lavender than all the, I guess, supplement companies in North America combined, because they're big. So it couldn't come from one farm possibly, but from many, and mostly from France. So it all depends on the certain essential oil, but anyone can email in or write in or call, and we will get the information about different essential oils and where they come from.
Wow, that's incredible. So then lavender must be the most sought after essential oil, would that mean? Or
I think so. Yeah, I
yeah,
wouldn't be surprised. It's just the most common ones. Most studies done on essential oils are on lavender. So yeah, I think it's a mainstay for everyone.
right. Everyone seems to know lavender. I've never really come across anyone who didn't like lavender. So that, yeah. You know what? I have no questions coming in the chat. So Um, if you have anything else you want to add, you're welcome to add now, and then I might just close it up because I don't have any questions coming in.
Although I know a lot more about interesting details about quality, I think I've saturated people with enough information for this evening that I don't need to add any if they don't have any questions, but I do appreciate them attending.
Right,
And
absolutely. And there's even a link here on I saw a video on Now Quality, and it must talk about the purity testing that you were talking about. So that's really neat that they can check that out too.
yeah, yeah, you can kind of go along with different chemists and such, doing a tour through the different labs and see how they do the testing. So it's kind of fun to watch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. This is really neat. I hope everyone is enjoying this. I think everyone's probably digesting all the information and they're probably like checking out all the links right now, too busy to ask any questions. So I know it's late where you are. I just want to thank you very much for being here and sharing all this information with everyone and all the customers at Choices Market.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
And thank all of you out there for attending. Just stay tuned and check your email shortly after the event. A survey will come into your inbox. We're going to ask you some questions, and then we want to make sure that you get your nutrition back, which is $10 off if you spend $50 or more at your favorite Choices location. Oh, no question. I just have some people now saying thank you. So wanted you to
Oh,
know
okay,
that as
great.
well. So
Thanks.
we are having some thank yous come in. For future events, you can find those online at our website, choicesmarket.com, as well as we always have posters up in our store and in our monthly newsletter. We'll talk about the events coming up as well. And if you want to sign up for a nutrition tour, you can do that in store. That's a free one-on-one information session with one of the local nutrition consultants at your store. Um, this is a free service, so if you are interested in that, please sign up. You can do that on our website or at customer service, and we hope to see you soon at Choices. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Bye.